actually have some Cyber Dragons for you today. More of these super heavy samurai engine decks, and of course a look into some of the more degenerate ideas that the OCG still has. Make sure you guys smash the living crap out of that subscribe button so you guys don't miss out on more Oz content. You know, it has been a hot second, and I mean a literal hot second, since we have seen this Cyber Dragon stuff kind of taking off, and I like what I'm seeing here. You know, the fact that, you know, you can still machine dupe out a majority of this and just kind of, you know, take off with the deck is really cool. Also, you do get access to some very, very good generic scales down here. You know, we've seen how good the super heavy samurai stuff can actually be for helping you out for this. And I also see, you know, we are also side decking some Clockwork Knights down here. Well, let's call it what it is at this point in time. You know, this deck gets really degenerate when you can turn everything into a machine and just, you know, chomp everything up with, you know, good old Chimera Tech Fortress. I also see that we're playing a Cyberdark Chimera, and we are doing Cybernetic Horizon plays as well. And if you really, really, really want to get crazy with this deck, we are playing a single copy of Power Bond. So this is kind of the thing that's meant to bring this deck together, you know. Especially, you know, when you can cheese out, you know, something like this and go ahead and attempt to win the game. Most of your centralized blowout's going to be through how much value can you get out of the Rampage Dragon and so forth. You also have some kaijus to kind of, you know, wrap this all up and bring it together. But something, honestly, like the TCG has not really explored much of the idea of using the super heavy samurai scales as an engine to assist this deck. I feel like at this point in time, most people look at the scales and they're like, you know, we don't really get a lot of decent value out of these in Cyber Dragons, but I like the idea here. I mean, they still have the little scarecrow, so they get a little bit more value than they really should. So cool stuff. Next up here, oh man, hey look, you know, it's our favorite little friend in the whole wide world, but this is doing some gold sarcophagus shenanigans. So what is this? Super heavy samurai toolbox with a splash of Imsetian friends? Like, that's all I feel like we're getting here. Now, you remember the TCG having to deal with the heavy monster builds of this. And it's really cool to see, like, the current iteration of these heavy monster beat decks that are able just to come up with, I don't know, crazy inboards and things. Because, like, your only spell and trap in the entire deck is the one of Sarcophagus. So, you know, you hit this, you're kind of off to the races. You're able to do your thing. Of course, we're citing a Gamma with a driver, of course. I see we're also playing a Laughing Poffin. If a face-up spell and trap card is on the field, you can special summon this card from your hand. You contribute one Winged Beast monster, target one face-up spell and trap card on the field, and return that face-up card to your hand. But for the rest of this turn, you can activate cards or the effects of cards with the same name as that card once had returned. And then this is a quick effect if all the monsters you control are Winged Beast minimum one. Well, you know, we're going to be dropping this thing on the field to do whatever floodgate out that we're going to need. You know, sometimes the anti-spell fragrance becomes a little bit of an annoyance. And it's actually really cool that this deck has an out to that. All right, so that's something you really got to think about out here when you're looking at, like, the progression of the way that this deck wants to go about its day. It's, you know, how much out, how much pressure can we put on the opponent? And, you know, it all comes together at the end of the day. You know, your heavy monster package is going to get you through the places that you need to be. So I will say, I'm fairly impressed with the idea behind this deck. Just full combo, and then, you know, side appropriately to bring out, you know, whatever out you need for your opponent. Next up here, you know, in a world where, you know, you could potentially, you know, have triple chicken game, triple Upstar Goblin, you could play a pile like this and have your opponents just stare at you and go, what in the world is this? Like, what am I supposed to do about this? Well, realistically, this is just the kind of pile of cards at the moment. And I do think that if you really wanted to play Pendulums on the most degenerate side of things, this is probably the way to go about it. You're just going to try to turbo through everything and just do your thing. I also love post-side decking. We also can, have the Necro Valley in here, but you just go full combo and then laugh in, Secret Village of the Spellcasters. Like, your opponent's not going to be able to do anything. Like, you set this up, you're just washing your hands with the game. Like, good job. I like this. Good stuff. We also have, oh my gosh, these 60 card pile decks. Things are going to get out of hand here when Exodius shows up. Like, it is always entertaining to me that every time Exodius is just here, it just goes ahead and literally is a free special summon by resetting your graveyard. All right, like, I don't think a lot of people really, I guess, consider Exodius as like the little free extender that he actually is. But you only really tend to see him in like super combo degenerate decks. So this is going to be one of those cases of, I need to reset up my resources. We've fully gone through, all the combo lines and things that we need to do here. Exodius gives us that recovery play so that we can go ahead and do our thing. Outside of that, free link off as well. So we'll take that. But outside of that, this entire build is going down the Prank Kids lines. You have the sub sprite combo in here as well. Like, everything that your opponent is probably going to be attempting to do to you in the course of this game, I feel like your combo end board is just going to be like the nuts. Also, the fact that we have the Prank Kids stuff in here as well just elevates the level of stupid that these board gets. And I think this is the reason why the TCG doesn't really want to give us back Meow Meow Mew. We're so afraid of the ideas and things that you could do with something like this style of deck in the TCG. Realistically, we're missing a Scantos. We're missing the Link one, but most of the TCG has everything else present here. So that's something to really think about here. Next up here, we have Alistair the Invoker with Horus cards. And this is straight one-ofs. Okay, so what in the world are we doing here? I assume, judging by what this deck feels like it wants to do, is these guys provide many of the different attributes. To be fair, we're not even going down the other attribute lines. You're just literally setting up Makaba, Horus, good stuff, Dingrisu on the sidelines, and then I guess proceeding to laugh at your opponent as they can't really do anything. Realistically, even hard making a window. We don't have the side deck for this, so I assume that there were probably some sort of Shadal monsters in the side deck to kind of help this deck out with its immediate game plans to make sure that you can go, hey, we can go ahead, handle anything that we really could do. So, interesting. The Invoked package, back at it again. Next up here, how many of these super heavy samurai decks are we going to see this week? Like, maybe these are the best. Maybe these are the best scales in the entire game, and the TCG is just missing out on these. Now we are doing the field spell shenanigans here, but what's most interesting to me is we're not. Is this the one? Targeted to face a monster if your opponent controls special summon. Blah blah blah. We're not doing the Pendulum Sorcerer plays that I'm very used to seeing this deck trying to cheese out, which is kind of cool, but we're taking more of a heavy approach on these. I also see we're side decking a triple pop-up. If your opponent controls a card in their field zone and you do not activate a field spell from your deck, you can only activate one of these per turn. So you can actually go ahead and blow up your field spell. Go ahead and deploy like a Necro Valley or one of your other detrimental field spells onto your opponent, or just kind of combo on up. That's interesting. Okay. Our last list for today is Exo Sister. The Exo Sister OCG builds are kind of cool. I also see that this build is playing a Sky Striker package down here. To be fair, you just slap your Magnifica in the extra monster zone, right? And then you can go ahead and play Eagle Booster or Protect It, and you're kind of just off to the races. I like the idea of that. That definitely feels like you can do some pretty cool things with it. And, most of the time people try to out this. Shouldn't be much of an issue. I don't know, this kind of lets you play a different style of game with this deck. Maybe we need to consider this. Maybe this little Exo Sister idea we have going here. I don't know. I kind of like this. So what do you think about the cool ideas that we have working for us out of the OCG today? Please leave a comment down below. Tell me what you guys think, and I will see your beautiful faces back here later today, guys. patrons. Thank you.
Thank you so much for watching. Check out these other videos.